how that practice test will go down is I will give you all this sheet of paper right here that looks like this, 50 blanks. I will go through the PowerPoint that looks something like this. I'll say number one, what's this? You'll write down Indigo Bunting. Number two, you'll write down Dark Eye Junco, and so on and so forth. Okay, we will go through all 50 once, and then we will do that again, and I'll pick that up and I'll let you know in a short period of time whether or not you got a perfect. If you get a perfect, you're good to go. But even if you miss one, okay, I'm going to make you retake it. I will cut you some slack on this because you are, new to the world of ornithology. And so if you put catbird and you don't put gray catbird, that's fine. If you put something like gray cowbird, then that's going to be wrong. If you I know it's kind of a fine line there. Like if you put like something like instead of American robin, you put northern robin, I would probably give that to you, okay? Right? But if you put something like blue heron for green heron, that is not correct. I should say that, well, let's just make this rule. If you can't write down my favorite bird, which is great blue heron, okay, then I'm going to count off maybe on that one. You should have all three of those. Great blue heron, because there is a little blue heron. We don't often see that in Indiana, but if you go to the Everglades with me in Florida, you will definitely see it there. It is a little cutie. It's only about this big, and it's just like a miniature version, but it's all kind of this slate blue color. I can show you this later. Oh, cool. Where does he live? Oh yeah. We have. Last night I went to my friend's house and they have a heron rookery there, so it's a place where all the herons nest. You guys know where herons nest? Did I ever show you this picture? This is crazy. Let me just show you this. So herons they nest in something called a heron rookery. Okay, and they live literally in the tops of trees. So you think about herons, you're like, oh my gosh, like these are like water birds, but like I'm not kidding you. These are the heron nests at the very tops of these trees. It seems really dangerous. You're like, why would that bird do that? But that's where herons live. And so I got a buddy who's got a heron rookery. It's just right in the Oxbow, so on the Eel River, kind of behind the college, which is kind of cool. And so I did not see any juncos last night, but for the first time I saw female common yellowthroat. Somebody has the common yellowthroat in here. Okay, common yellowthroat, right? Look at just so everybody knows, since the common yellowthroat wasn't, I gotta show you this because I was so excited. So the common yellowthroat male, and I've seen males all the time. They look like this, really pretty. There's yellowthroat. It's kind of got this black mask, but the female looks like this, and I honestly don't know if I've ever seen a female common yellowthroat. So I was pretty excited about that last night, even though it's a fairly common bird, but it's on its way out. It's migrating south. Okay, I'm going to start to come around here in a minute and see how you're doing on your scores. I want to see if does yours work today? That is the weirdest. Can I touch it here?
No.
You don't want me to touch it?
COVID.
Okay, search history. Let me.
Yeah, you still make sure.
COVID. Hey, with your workouts that you do in the morning, I highly doubt you have COVID.
Yeah, space age.
What? I don't know. That's the easiest one, dude. Oh, the sand grain. Right.
No. Hey, don't come back here and help me. Come back here and help me. I don't know why these birds. I don't know how to spell that. What I did? Get all birds. Yeah. Redhead woodpecker.
pressure on you. Talking about how feeling sad is around. And then you put pressure on
The yellow dress.
We're trying not to be sad, which only makes you feel worse. In case. And then there was one thing. You got legs? Yeah. You got legs one.
Common yellow.
Oh, found it.
No, it's an instrumental like this.
Oh yeah, it's
It's an instrumental one. Set that off.
Hey, yeah, okay.
What?
Why do they look like they have little sunglasses?
And I can see if you can create a written one. All right, okay, Tony, Becker, you can speak to me. All right,
Why is there
some
something
of you
on
are
my
feeling,
recommendation to say Joker see what killing her hair
I
for
like
3
this.
minutes?
Okay,
What are you watching?
Hey, listen, folks. So once again,
Joker see what killing her hair for 3 minutes.
Kay, hi Kay, we're just right now we are working on oh, I'm so glad your dog is joining class. I want to see your dog, so show me at some point. Okay, but right now we were just doing a written test for practice. The real thing's going to be good to go. Oh, I was on the bone one, which is really weird. Let's go ahead and do just a few little Quizlet lives on this. You guys have been excellent on the Quizlet lives.
I don't like it.
Oh, back with it live?
You got it?
Oh, yeah, baby.
We'll just play a couple times.
$2 since it says I win this round. All right. I bet you $20 you won't win this round. All right. There, you gotta help me out.
Okay, all right, here's one.
I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna win this round. That's 3 people now that want me. I'll decide how to
I started a vicious cycle.
So there's this square body in town, right? For sale. Square bodies are hot. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, what if you just out of nowhere you started reciting it like to yourself and the
I will.
You could jump in here. I wonder if it was that one thing that just said answer with English.
How far away?
Who knows? At least we figured it out.
I edited toddlers and PR.
Oh, cool. Let me get myself off my pin so I can see it. What's your dog's name? It's Jeffrey. Everyone's saying your dog's name is Jeffrey. Is that correct? Jeff. All right, here we go. Oh. I don't know. She's not saying. Jeffrey, it is Jeffrey. How'd you guys know that? Oh, there you go. Everyone's like, it's Jeffrey. Okay, cool. All right, here we go. We're gonna do this thing. It's a LaCroix.
Have you ever just taken unflavored, just carbonated
Yes,
water and gave it to your dog? Like, I mean, just to see the face it makes.
I've never.
Like,
No.
I can't believe you.
Why is the water so spicy? What's that?
Spicy water.
You don't like it? It's not that.
I tried that with no flavor.
It's not. It's not amazing.
No, don't take the wrong one. Why did I sound like that?
I just don't understand. That's so.
It's pretty nasty. It's okay. Well, you got a good friend.
Wait, birds aren't there. No?
Birds are animals.
IQ is low.
So?
Look at the cheers. All right. Okay. All right. Nice. Nice job. Double duty. All right. Everybody share your Chromebooks for a few minutes here. Hey, Zach, Tony, can you share your Chromebooks for a little bit? Okay. Can you share your Chromebooks for a second? Okay, thanks. All right. Let's talk here for a few minutes about a couple things. First of all, I'm going to ask you some terms, and hopefully you got them at this point. Okay, but we spent a lot of time talking about the water cycle and specifically doing our little experiment. So what's the term that means the water's going into the soil? Yeah.
Is it something?
Infiltration, yeah, starts with I, but that's it. Okay, good. If the roots of a plant suck up that water and it goes through the trunk and then the stems and then the leaves, this is a little tougher term. That starts with a T. Transpiration, right? Like kind of like perspiration, but it's like the tree is sweating, right? So transpiration, I'm transporting from the ground, okay, to those leaves. When the leaves then begin to like send it up into a cloud, what do we call that? Evaporation, right? And then all that water kind of comes together. What do we call that? Not, well, it's precipitation when it starts to fall, but what about when it condensation, condenses, right? Condenses, and then it precipitates, okay? Hey guys, I really need your attention. Thank you. Okay, so now what we've got is that's the water cycle. We know that things are moving around. Pre-COVID, we used to play this thing, and it was just really kind of silly. Okay, but there was like these little cardboard boxes. Everyone would be touching them way too many times. But you come over here and you roll this cardboard box, and this little area would represent like the ocean. Then it would tell you to go over here to the clouds, and then you'd roll that. And then it would tell you to go to groundwater. You go back there to groundwater, and you would just keep rolling around. And sometimes it would tell you to stay. Okay, so one thing that we haven't talked about yet with the water cycle is the answer to this question. If I were a drop of water, where would I spend my time? Okay, so think about this. This is kind of a tough question, but if I were a drop of water, where do you think I would mostly hang out
America.
in the world? Okay, soil's a great guess. Okay, I'll give you, yes. Ocean is correct. Ocean in the atmosphere. Okay, I once read that it would take like something like, guys, thanks. It would take something like 5,000 years for a drop of water to like go, like leave from the ocean and go to all the other places like animals, plants, okay, soil, ice, all of that stuff. So yeah. No, yeah. So the whole thing is like 5,000 years. I think it's like 3,000 just like staying in the ocean, right? So it's pretty crazy to think about that. And so we started talking about the nitrogen cycle, and what was weird was I asked. So we were talking in this class. I said, "How about that part where the lion gets killed in that video?" And you're like, "We never watched that." Well, I started. So you never saw this one at all. This one, and it's fun. The other class did. Okay, so something happened from first period into this period because you guys didn't see this. We're gonna watch this in a second, but I want to talk about some big picture items. Okay, so the walk, guys, I just really want me to focus. You know, practice. We got the ADD. All right, so you guys will receive the great. Okay, now. What we've got is the water cycle. We talked about that H2O kind of moving around. Okay, this video that we're going to watch is all based on the nitrogen cycle. Everybody take a deep breath. Okay, what's the number one gas?
60.
What's the number one gas that you just inhaled? What's that, Steve? It is nitrogen. A lot of people want to say oxygen. A lot of people say, think about that because that's what we need to live. Unfortunately, we do not have an organ inside our body. Guys, I'm serious. Thank you. Okay. All right, so we don't have an organ in our bodies that will cause us to like utilize that nitrogen, but we 100% need it. All right, and partly why we need it is because of something to do with our DNA. How many people know what DNA is?
I do.
Okay, what is it, Trace?
It's
What is it? Anybody know?
not associated.
No. What's that? Okay, what's the name? Deoxyribonucleic acid. It's pretty important. It's a thing that lives inside our nucleus. Go, Callie. They're good teachers in Cali. Okay, and so that little thing does not leave the nucleus. It is who we are. Okay, you all have, hopefully you all have 23 chromosomes, though I'm worried about a few of you. Okay, but just kidding. Okay, so but when we look at that, when we look at those chromosomes are made up of DNA, right? Okay, and DNA is the code of life. Okay. So DNA has three parts. It has a sugar, a phosphate, and something called a nitrogenous base. Okay, what do you think a nitrogenous base is made of? Okay, yeah, right. Maybe, yeah, there's some nitrogen in there. And there's this other really important thing that DNA does. DNA has a code. Okay, well, not kind of, I guess. But DNA has a code, and there's 4 letters. Not DNA, those letters, but adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine, and they are the code for making something very important called proteins, okay, or polypeptides, okay? What are the building blocks of life? Have you heard this before? Okay, the building blocks of life are amino acids, okay? Amino acids coming together make up protein. All right, now listen. What do you think that amino acids have as a part of their background or backbone? Well, I was looking for an N word again, but okay, nitrogen, right? Okay, so when we talk about nitrogen, what you're gonna see here is very, very important because we wouldn't be able to live without it. Okay, so I want you. This video is kind of cheesy, but it is 100% the best description of the nitrogen cycle ever. Okay? Yes, yes.
It's every ginger.
Um,
That's all I am.
that's a great question. I'm sure you could make parts of it, but I don't know if it's like function. Right? I'll have to think about that though. Okay, everybody listen.
Allow me to introduce NK, a natural killer cell straight from my own immune system. Now let's start today off with the question. Let's say we plant two identical plants at the same time. They have the same light exposure and the same amount of water each day. The only difference among these plants is the type of water they will receive. Plant A will have purified bottled water. Plant B will have normal rainwater. Now, after a few weeks, which one?
Okay, real quickly, this is a tough one. This is the purified water. This is rainwater. Which do you think is the control, A or B? A is the though we would maybe we would water our plants with pure water, but this is what we're changing. We want to see which one, if this makes any difference. So distilled water, pH of 7, okay, or pH of like 5 to 6. Which one do you think is going to look better? We'll talk about
One
that.
will grow larger than the other. Keep that question in mind for later on. Now on to today's topic. Cellular growth is dependent on amino acids. Cellular growth will increase if the amount of amino acids increase. Here are a few amino acids: methionine, alanine, and glycine. Besides carbon and oxygen, what element do they have in common? That's right, nitrogen. Nitrogen is an important element. Without it, amino acids cannot be synthesized. If there are no amino acids, cellular growth is not possible. Nitrogen is most abundant in the atmosphere. However, it's not biologically available to the organisms on the Earth. To make nitrogen biologically available, it must be fixated in either an ammonium ion or a nitrate. The fixating reactions are all part of the nitrogen cycle. First, we'll start off with atmospheric fixation, which has two kinds of fixation reactions. The first kind of reactions are the photoreactions. In the photoreactions, light instigates a reaction with nitric oxide and the ozone molecules.
Hey, those guys down there? They said, you were a pretty weak compound.
What? I'm not weak. Pocket trash, let's go. Bring it on!
Incoming! Assume formations! Yes, sir.
Oh, my.
When the reaction is complete, a nitric acid is formed and waits in the atmosphere until it rains. The second kind of reactions in atmospheric fixation are the lightning reactions. When lightning strikes, it causes water vapor molecules and nitrogen molecules to react.
It's time. Let's get the stuff.
Dudes, what are you doing?
We saw some human named Bunny French. He got struck by lightning in his kite. Nothing happened to him, so we're gonna try him.
Wait a minute. That wasn't Benny Frank. That was Benny Franklin. They had a key tied to the end of his kite to take the lightning when it got struck.
Oh!
You guys are dumb. When this reaction is complete, another nitric acid is formed and waits in the atmosphere until it rains.
Hello! I'm still out here since the last video. This is how you treat your models? You leave us out in the cold? Ah, now it's raining. No one ever listens to me, but they can now.
Once on the Earth, the hydrogen dehydrates off of the nitric acid. This changes nitric acid into nitrate. Now, nitrate can undergo one out of a few events. It can be assimilated into the plant roots, where it will change into an ammonium ion and then quickly converted into an amino acid. If the nitrate is not assimilated, it can leach into the groundwater. Or it can be immobilized by soil microbes.
Congratulations, lads. You're now part of me Lucky Charms.
There is one other event that the nitrate can undergo, but we'll talk about that later on. That was the atmospheric fixations. Now let's move on into industrial fixation. NK will show you the
Right,
Haber-Bosch
so this
process.
is industrial. So this
Fixate
means we're
nitrogen
making
into the
nitrogen
ammonium
so we
ion.
can put it on our fields. How do we do that?
First, NK will add nitrogen molecules into a specialized pressure chamber set at 200 atmospheric pressure. He will then add a metal catalyst, like iron.
Yeah.
Now NK needs to increase the heat to above 200 degrees Celsius. And he does that with a standard military grade flamethrower? For the love of Darwin, NK, where did you get that thing? Never mind. When this process is complete, ammonium ions are produced and used in fertilizers. The next kind of fixation is the bacterial
Okay,
fixation.
now this is a tough one. Watch this
The
one.
bacteria Rhizobium can fixate nitrogen when it has infected the roots of a legume plant. A legume plant is a plant that cannot fixate nitrogen without the help of Rhizobium.
Just like our soybeans.
An example of the legume plants would be a soy plant or a bean plant. Rhizobium form nodules on the root hairs of the plant. They fixate nitrogen and give it to the plant. In return, the plant will give the bacteria nutrients. They form what is called a symbiotic relationship. Basically, they depend on each other. When the legume plant dies, the nitrogen that was fixated into the plant is released into the soil. There is another kind of bacteria that can fixate nitrogen. It is called free-living bacteria. Free-living bacteria, such as cyanobacteria, can take nitrogen and fixate it into the ammonium ion. Like nitrate, the ammonium ions can go through the same events the nitrate went through. It can be assimilated by the plant roots. However, the ammonium ion is very toxic, so to avoid a toxic effect, it will be immediately synthesized into amino acids. If the ammonium ion is not assimilated, it can leach into the ground or be immobilized by soil microbes.
Not so fast there, boy.
Ha! You missed!
Oh!
Boy,
Now on to biological fixation.
my job so much
Plants are
fun.
not the only organisms that depend on nitrogen. Animals depend on nitrogen for cellular growth as well. An animal will eat the model plant.
What? What are you doing? You're a carnivore!
I'm a vegetarian.
As the lion digests the plant, it will also digest the amino acids and nitrogen of the plant, adding it to his own system. But what happens after digestion? That's right, excretion. Basically means he's got to go poo. The waste that the lion excreted will be added to the soil.
Guy, what are you gonna do with that?
Due to some unfortunate event, the lion dies.
Wow.
Now, the body of the lion and the waste he excreted earlier will be decomposed into basic organic matter. Bacteria living in the soil will make the ammonium ions from the organic matter. Now, there's one more thing that the ammonium ion can undergo. The ammonium ion can be converted by soil microbes into a nitrate. That nitrite can undergo nitrification by bacteria and change into a nitrate. Remember earlier when I said that nitrate can undergo one more process? Well, this is it. Nitrate can go through denitrification. Bacteria will help release nitrogen from the nitrate and return it to the atmosphere, thus closing the cycle. Now, after reviewing the nitrogen cycle, have you come up with an answer to the question from earlier? Which plant will grow larger? Will it be plant A with purified water or plant B with rainwater?
It's gonna be right now.
The answer is plant B. Purified water might sound great, but it's processed. It has no nitric acid or any ammonium ions in it. Rainwater contains some nitric acid, which allows more biological nitrogen to the plant. That nitrogen will eventually become amino acids and increase cellular growth of the plant.
All right, here's that part again. I like it.
Literally got murked.
Yeah.
Basically means he's got to go poo.
I like that it says, "Hey guy, what are you doing?"
The waste that the lion excreted will be added to the soil.
Guy, what are you gonna do with that?
Due to some unfortunate event, the lion dies.
Due to some unfortunate event. Yeah, so juicy. All right, now listen. Okay, so let's talk big picture here for a second. Okay, this water is different. So we talk about the water cycle, it precipitates down, but water doesn't just precipitate down from the sky, just like distilled water, right? It's got stuff in it. So if we were to measure the pH of water, and we will do this in a month or so, okay, we'll find that the pH is going to be a little acidic, okay? And that's a good thing because that acidity is carrying something important, and that's the nitrogen, okay? But it's not readily available to us, okay? Before 1900, we didn't have fertilizers. So all you farmers out there, okay, you're buying anhydrous now, okay, to knife into your fields because your plants can't grow with just the amount of nitrogen, okay, alone. Yes.
Can I bring in my aquarium test kit?
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. Yeah, that'd be great. When we do the pH thing, yeah, that'd be awesome. Okay, Zach will also tell you right now that even though you'll get more money from corn, it's a bad idea to plant corn every single year for 100 years. And why is that, Zach? What's that? Yeah, right. So what's a good way to put some nitrogen? It's a cheap way to do it, Jack? Soybeans, right? So what do we call that when we change up the fields? Corn one, yeah, crop rotation, right? Okay. Okay, so all those soybean fields that you see right now, that's a good thing because they're putting that nitrogen into the ground. Real quickly, there was a homework assignment. Okay, here's the people who have not turned in the 3.41 questions. There's 13 of you. So Presley, Sladen, Michael, Lincoln, Peyton, Jade, Haley, Zach, Evan, Olivia, Kimberly, Claire, and Mackay. Well, Mackay's actually in first period. I need to switch him out of there. Okay, make sure you take a look. What's that? Oh, is that why he's been gone? Oh, how'd it happen? Oh, Mackay? This is Mackay? Oh, man, how many stitches?
I don't know.
Dang, when did this happen?
Like 3 days ago.
Did you see it happen?
I was
Oh, man. That's insane.
Yeah, it's like really thick. It was like glass costume.
Ooh. All right.
He's gonna have a permanent chunk.
Good to see you, Kay. Any questions?
No.
All right. Peace out. Bye.